Hello, Mike.
Patricia, hello.
Hello. So we are here to introduce you to my students, and it's a great pleasure for me to receive you here. Um, since 2 years, we don't meet each other
No, I know, I
personally.
know. Well, it was, Patricia, I was with you the last free weekend I had.
Oh,
So we were in Portugal. Literally, I was due to go to Spain the next weekend, and clearly that was cancelled because we couldn't go.
yeah,
So
yeah.
the world has been crazy ever since.
Yes, unfortunately. And later your wife also had some problems.
Well, she got COVID, and
Yeah,
very early.
yeah.
She was one of the first people to get COVID, and of course, as I said, yours was the last outside of Europe trip that I did. In fact, I don't think I've left Britain since that trip.
Yeah.
Then my wife became ill about 2 weeks later. And I then informed all my patients that we'd be closing the clinic for 2 weeks. Now, we don't work on Monday. We have Mondays off. And of course, on Monday night, Boris Johnson announced that he was going to close the country. But, well, the idea was for a couple of weeks. It turned out to be nearly 8 weeks or more, I can't remember. But otherwise, we were ready to close the clinic from that Tuesday, and as it happened, everything closed, so we didn't specifically have to close our clinic.
Yeah.
But it definitely brought it home to me, this issue, because my wife was properly unwell. She, she had kidney pains, back pains, and she's normally a power of energy, and she was comatose on her bed for 2 days.
Yeah. Anyway, we are still facing serious problems. Here the situation is not good, but let's focus our life on studying and preparing the life for next year, or I don't know.
There is much still to be done, Patricia.
Yeah. There is a lot yet to be done. Let's wait. Anyway, let's start to talk about our subject. I want you to explain to us what is mewing.
Okay, so mewing, I guess, to give it its broader spectrum, is all of the things that you can do that don't involve active intervention. So everything that you can do as an individual without seeing a dentist or an orthodontist that can help you improve your craniofacial structure. So the term we use is craniofacial dystrophy. So this is a term we've used to describe how the face of modern humans has dropped back and down, has downswung in comparison to where it was in ancestral material. So, a few thousand years ago, most people had all their teeth, including wisdom teeth, in pretty good alignment from birth till death. 1,000 years ago, most people did.
And almost not perfect contact here.
Well, that's more 2,000 to 3,000 years ago. And it depends where you are in the world. I think 2,000 years ago, we'd more or less gained an overjet and overbite. You've got to go back. Our teeth were worn before that. But of course, as I said, you only need a small flint tool, and you don't do this as much. But before you have that first flint tool, you have to incise everything with your incisor.
Yeah.
And this goes back to the philosophy that our ancestors were perfectly evolved for the environment which they lived in. And because they were perfectly involved, they didn't need to do any exercises. They didn't need to do mewing. All they needed to do was live. And to live life combined the perfect exercises to gain 32 straight teeth. Now, what can we learn from them? And how can we implement prevention or just methods to gain improvements in our structure? I see crooked teeth as one of many symptoms of craniofacial dystrophy.
Mhm.
So although we talk about crooked teeth as an important issue because we're orthodontists, we mustn't forget that we also have other symptoms like sleep apnea, a forward head posture,
Uh-huh.
jaw joint problems, maybe even some scoliosis. You know, there are quite a few other issues that seem to be caused by the same problem that causes crooked teeth, craniofacial dystrophy. And gaining an upswing in facial form would seem to address all of these problems.
Uh-huh.
Now, my father is in many ways the father of a lot of the postural orthodontics.
Mhm.
And, you know, he learnt functional orthodontics in his youth. And he then went on to develop postural orthodontics and all of these, you know, BioBlock. I mean, a lot of other things have been heavily influenced. You know, MyoBrace was heavily influenced by BioBlock. And there are many, he's spawned the whole field of medicine and orthodontics. And, you know, we've had these beliefs for a long period of time. And my father had a concept called the tropic premise. And the tropic premise is that anyone who rests with their tongue in the roof of the mouth, the teeth in or near contact, and the lips together will have a nice facial development and perfectly straight teeth.
Mhm.
And I often find people surprised that such a simple
Mike,
but
Mike,
shouldn't underestimate the power of
Mike, can you repeat?
and
Because
little things.
Mike,
Little things over a long period of time.
Mike,
Patricia.
can you repeat the last
Yeah.
phrase because we was frozen?
We was frozen.
Yes.
I'm just, if I should really. Patricia, let me go and move slightly. Do you want to
Okay,
stop the recording and we'll start it again?
I will stop. Okay,
Okay, you start again when you want.
okay.
Okay, so we were talking about ancestral man and how ancestral man is doing, clearly they're doing something right to prevent themselves getting malocclusion.
Mhm.
My father's come up with the tropic premise, and that gives a good understanding of how you can correct or look at malocclusion. We've got to remember this isn't just malocclusion, this is a host of other problems, all related to craniofacial dystrophy. So a range of problems, all with the same cause.
Uh-huh.
Now, I then was invited to give a lecture in a Charing Cross hotel.
Mhm.
And as it just happened that my wife had a job literally beside Charing Cross Hotel. She was helping a friend of mine doing basically grand Airbnb. He had about 30 or 40 properties and they were doing basically Airbnb. And she was like checking people in, washing sheets, tidying, checking people out. And it was in the area right there. So, and it was in an evening on, I was going to go there anyway. And it was like so easy. So I just went, okay, I'll give the lecture. And it was, I booked about an hour lecture, I think I did. And it was, I thought I'd talk about how faces aren't set. It's not genetic. And what we do to make faces better, what can go wrong. And I gave a lecture, and it was something called the 21 Convention. And it was young boys, a lot of them who want to look better, who want to, but they're thinking weights, and they're thinking that's how they're going to look better. And I then presented something that was completely different to them. You know, no one ever thought about your face, but I started it by saying, just as you could exercise, you know, bodybuild to get a great face, you could exercise body, you could get exercise to get a great face.
Yeah.
And of course, this, you know, I was at the end of the lecture, I was like swamped by these young, you know, 21-year-old guys who wanted to know how they make their face better. And I'm thinking, kind of, I guess that is what I said in my lecture, but that's you know, you'd be crazy to try because it's really, really hard to do this, you know, without any help. And yet I thought you would be crazy not to try,
Uh-huh.
because what else are you doing with your mouth and your tongue?
Uh-huh.
You know, I see, you know, when I walk down the street, understanding what I do, I look at the people and I go, car crash, car crash, car crash, disaster. You know, everyone in a modern society, to a greater or lesser extent, is greatly affected. And, you know, it really, it upsets me, you know, when I get patients who come to see me who are in a bad way. And it should have been so easy to prevent that from a young age.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I've given this lecture. These kids understand it, and we're trying to build my clinic. So I've been advised to place lots of YouTube videos on, you know, everything from what's an overjet, what's an overbite, what a fixed brace is, what types of retention there are. You know, these sort of fairly, you know, normal things, because it's really good for bringing in SEO, so software engineering. So I'd started doing that. Mm-hmm. Now we also had some Google alerts, so we've got some alerts out because I've got a fairly unique name, Mike Mew. I mean, there's only one. Well, there are a few of me, but they're not many. Uh-huh. So we had an alert out on my name, and then we start finding people talking about me and that lecture I gave on some strange websites. I mean, there are some strange places on the internet, but I probably, if someone in marketing had talked to me, they would have told me never to give that lecture in the first place, never to engage these guys on these strange websites. But I did so. And what I did was they'd asked a couple of questions amongst themselves. Mm-hmm. So I went and took out like 7 questions and did a video answering all 7 questions. Mm. And then I did a few more of these in other places. And then I get more and more people coming on my YouTube channel and asking me specific questions. Uh-huh. So, what did I have my alarm for? Yes. For this presentation? Sorry? This presentation. All right. Yeah, so don't worry. So I then gave I then started, of course, what I've been doing is making these lectures on some pretty dull subjects. And I really want to tell people what's in my head. Uh-huh. You know, I want to help people. I'm walking down the streets and I'm seeing these car crashes. What can I do to make people better? Because people have to understand the importance of what they do themselves. So I start putting out videos addressing the mewing issues, you know, these issues. And I didn't come up with the term mewing. It's sort of just evolved on the internet. Uh-huh. And then in the summer of 2019, it went crazy. Uh-huh. You know, I got newspapers contacting me. I was on morning television, and I'm just watching, you know, my YouTube channel grows like this. Uh-huh. And interestingly, we had this phase, and I kind of never thought it would last that long. But just recently, my YouTube's going up to levels that, you know, made the old highs look small. Uh-huh. So clearly there's a lot more interest. I mean, you know, I think it's, someone will have an article, something goes somewhere, and all of a sudden I get all this interest. And it's happening more and more frequently now. But what the next thing that hit me was how incredible some of the facial results were. I was seeing people.
I think that maybe it is because there was at that time, 2019, a huge interest on harmonization, facial harmonization. And suddenly they realized that it was possible to make this without putting Botox and a lot of things. So yeah. Maybe this was the start for this cure. You
know, it was. I mean, but Patricia, still, when I look at some of the changes that some of these guys have got, I'm staggers me. You know, you have these kids in Kazakhstan who you see the first image of them, and then the second image, I've got these jaws, like, and you can see it's the same person, and you're going, wow, it's incredible what you're doing. And I remember this one guy, the best case I know, and I know him personally, is a guy called Astro Sky. And we got some interest from the New York Times. So someone from the New York Times came and wrote an article. He actually, I don't think he did us any favors. He just thought this was a load of nonsense. And he wrote the article as if it was a load of nonsense. And I remember I asked Astro Sky to send me some images, and he sent a before and an after image. The before image was, well, it was difficult to see because he'd managed to get an image from someone else's shot where he was in the background, and he'd compared it to a current photograph of how he looked. And I could see the change, but I could understand that the journalist from the New York Times was a little bit, because he was very suspicious, and okay, I can understand he didn't see changes. What's interesting now is that I can take, I asked Astro Sky to send some more images just to see how he was doing. He has now used what was his after image as his initial image, and he now has images that are just so different. It's just like, there's no question. There's no one's going to sit there and go, oh, is he got any change or is he not got change? He's got huge change. And so, the mewing caught on. And mewing's caught on because the other thing I get is this constant emails from people just saying, thank you. They say thank you for two reasons. One, they say thank you for understanding the problem. And the other thing is that they've got better. And you'll know of the research by Comancho and the meta-analysis showing that there's a significant improvement in breathing for adults doing myofunctional therapy, and over 50% and over 60% for children. Well, when I look at people who are doing myofunctional therapy, I've seen one or two improvements in facial form, but not many. When I look at mewing, I see thousands of people who have gained staggering changes, and I wouldn't say thousands of staggering, but thousands of people who have gained improvements, and hundreds of staggering cases. Now, maybe then we could argue that mewing was more effective than myofunctional therapy. And if we're arguing that case that mewing is more effective, then I'm helping the health of a lot of people. Now, I'm questioning, I do, when people write to me saying they've had problems mewing, I do pick up on this. But it's very difficult to separate whether people have just had problems or it's been problems from mewing, because the big issue, and I warn everyone, is jaw joint problems. If you've got jaw joint problems, be careful mewing, because that could upset the points.
Yeah.
And of course, the other one I worry about is people with body dysmorphia, because of course you could just be feeding your anxieties.
Yes.
And of course, that's not going to help you. But it's a bit different, because I had a consultation with a boy from Switzerland on Thursday, I think. And the boy's face is suboptimal. He's got a little bit of jaw joint problem, and he's got a bit of breathing problems, and he's asking me what he can do. And he's had 4 premolars taken out, and he's got a tiny little mouth. And he says, I know I was supposed to look better. I know that this face has been damaged. How do I get back just to being normal? I don't need to be great looking. I just want to be normal. And it's making me anxious. And, as I talked, I said, you've probably got body dysmorphia. And he says, you're probably right. But then, is this body dysmorphia? Because he should have had a better face. And he knows he should have had a better face. And as a young boy, those things eat you. So, these are food for thought. Patricia, we're opening Pandora's box. And out of Pandora's box is going to come some good things and some bad things. The fact that your environment can influence your facial form
Yeah.
Well, that's the basis of mewing. And of course, that's the basis of all functional postural treatments. You
Sure.
know, that's what differentiates. This is the big question. Is it genetic or is it the environment? And if it's the environment, well, then that's going to change public consciousness. The public at the moment believes that the way they look, you know, that image on their passport, which is considered their ID or, you know, their ID card, that image, it's them, it's their face. That's how you identify people. And that is considered to be immutable, just as their character is considered to be immutable.
Mhm.
And here's the truth coming out. We're opening Pandora's box and we're seeing, well, these faces actually aren't immutable. Faces change. And a little bit of pressure over a long period of time can be hugely influential.
Uh-huh.
You know?
And people must understand that it is possible in adults. Because,
Anytime. I mean, if you had a stroke, if you had a stroke, 80 years life, one side of your face would fall down.
Yeah.
Now, what is stopping you from getting one side of your face to rise up today? The only thing that stops you is your neuroprocessing.
Mm-hmm.
Old dogs, new tricks.
Yeah.
If I could actually hardwire in here and start reprogramming you, you know, we could morph your face completely.
Uh-huh. You said 7 points that you discussed. What were these 7 points that you discussed in that presentation that you did?
Oh, I can't remember. It was exactly 7 points, but you know, I mean, the presentation's there. You can go and see it. It's the 21 convention. But we went. I think we went through. You know, I see the cause. The two things you can really affect is the posture of your tongue and soft tissues and head. Or the posture of this thing here, and then the strength of these muscles.
Yeah.
Those are the two things you can really influence in your lifetime.
That is something important, I think. That is, people doesn't understand that tongue and mandible are always together. So if you change the posture of the tongue, of course you are changing also the posture of the mandible. And who is responsible for posture changing? The muscles.
Yeah, it's always going to be yourself.
Yeah. So what you said, that what each person can done by itself, it's something incredible, because we don't need intervention. We need training, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Patricia, I think that we need a new revolution in healthcare. Because if I went out and I got run over by a big red double-decker bus on the streets of London, I would want modern medicine on my side. I'd want blood transfusions. I'd want anesthetics, antibiotics, you know, the knowledge of bacterial knowledge of infection and infection process. You know, I want there's all of these things. It's amazing what we've created in modern medicine. Amazing. But and I would go and say that if there were injuries that I could have had 100 years ago that would have given me a 95% chance of dying, I would now have a 95% chance of surviving. And the modern medicine has brought wonders, absolute wonders. However, if we start talking about chronic medicine, so if I start talking about things like the diabetes, cardiac, coronary vascular diseases, obesity, you know, lots of what we refer to as the modern diseases. Well, actually, modern medicine isn't doing very well. Right? Modern medicine is doing rather badly. And it may be an opportunity for modern medicine to say, hello, has anyone got any better ideas? And when I break this down, because I've been involved with the ancestral health movement, and when I break these chronic diseases down, they all seem to be related to the difference in how we evolved to live to how we are living now.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you take, let's say, obesity, diabetes, or coronary vascular disease,
Mm-hmm.
all of them, just those examples. What you should do is, in order of preference, you should eat, better, and you should exercise. And for those diseases, eating better and exercises, that's the main route of causing those diseases or curing those diseases.
And when you say eat better, we are also talking about the consistency of the food.
Now you get, yes, I would be talking about consistency of the food. Most people would be simply saying that, we need to, particularly from the ancestral health movement, this is where the paleo diet came from. The ancestral health movement. And I remember going to some early lectures, and everyone else is talking about, dropping carbs and having fats and the whole thing that now is the paleo diet that we know about.
Yeah.
And there's me amongst this going, I don't care what you eat, just make it hard.
Yeah.
Just make it tough, because, you can see, you look at our ancestor skulls and they'd worn their teeth down.
Yes.
It's not new. No one's going to question this.
Yeah, everybody can see it.
We were talking earlier on about whether we have an overjet or not. Okay.
Yeah.
And I said that, you've only got to get a tool for cutting, a stone tool, a slither of, quartz, flint, slither of flint, and already you've got a mechanism here for cutting things, and then you don't have to do this. You don't have to. Oh, I think that came over. Hello, Patricia.
Yes, it's okay.
I've suddenly got an echo.
No, it's not recording an echo.
Okay, I'll just have to ignore my echo. So it's amazing, when I look at tribal groups sometimes, and I had someone debate with me on the British Dental Journal about some tribal groups, saying that they'd found one tribal group has a small tendency towards this orthodontic problem, and another tribal group has a tendency to this orthodontic problem, and these guys are in the Amazon jungle. And so I look up the group, and you've got some videos from this group, and you can see these guys sitting there in these huts, looking very authentically original. Now, I then look at them, and they've got knives. They're wearing cotton clothing.
Yeah.
They're sitting there, and I'm going, well, okay, yes, they are more indigenous than you or me are. But if you've got a metal knife, you're no longer doing this.
Yeah.
To cut everything. Well, why would you? You've got a metal knife. You don't do that at all. And when you've got clothes, before we had cotton clothes, we had mainly leather clothing, and you chewed things. You chewed leather till it was supple and you could use it. If you wanted a nice pair of moccasins, you had some chewing to do. You couldn't buy shoes. There were no shoes to buy. There were no shops. So it's amazing how more developed even some of these ancestral groups are, and just probably how far along they've gone from hunter-gatherer to us. They've probably gone a lot further than you would imagine. And I think that, in that vein, we could ask, all right, well, we don't want to wind the clock back. We don't want to be living in jungles anymore. Yeah. So what can we do to prevent malocclusion and all of these other problems, prevent craniofacial dystrophy? What can we do? And of course, that's my mission. We ran the campaign, Prevent Crooked Teeth. So you can Google Prevent Crooked Teeth. We had a campaign on that. But, we're looking at strategies. And so far, the best strategy that I've come across is chewing gum. But you've got, again, you need a compliant person. I struggle to get my girls to chew gum. I can put it in their mouth, But, you know, I look around and they've either taken it out, swallowed it, or they're hanging like this. You know, it's one thing, you know, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And this is, you know, this is the big problem we're going to face as a society, because, you know, when I was at dental school, sleep apnea wasn't on the syllabus. Nowhere on the syllabus. Now it's estimated to be killing 10 to 20% of the population a decade early. Now that must make it one of the most biggest, most effective diseases in the planet. Now, how can we have a disease that I've never heard of, wasn't in the syllabus? And I qualified in 93. So in 93, when I qualified, it wasn't in the syllabus. Now, not even 20 years, is it 20? No, 30 years. What's happening? Not even 30 years later, it's killing 10 to 20% of the population a decade early. Where's that disease come from? Now, the worry is what's going to be happening in another 10 years' time. Because I believe that we're hitting the end of the buffer. And I believe that we've run out of spare capacity. And humanity is going to be increasingly affected on an exponential by craniofacial dystrophy. And it's going to really hit society hard. And we're going to start really realizing these things. I mean, look at the pediatric sleep apneas. I mean, it's just, and when I look at them, I can go, oh yeah, I can see your sleep apnea. I see it from 100 meters usually. Yeah. When are we going to wake up and start trying to treat, trying to help these people?
Mike, let me ask you something. When you say touching teeth, what do you mean? Touching or pressure?
Okay, so we're talking about teeth touching teeth here. Okay, so again, this is the trope, going back to the tropic premise. It's tongue on the roof of the mouth, lips together, teeth in or near contact. So now this is where I come unstuck with much of my functional therapy. And lots of people talk about the freeway space. And they go, we're supposed to have a freeway space. Really? You've got some ancestral material to check, have you? Because I don't think we should have it. So freeway space. I think freeway space is a modern phenomena, and our ancestors didn't have freeway space. And what happens is if you have the tongue on the roof of the mouth, the tongue is acting as the natural antagonist for the jaw closing muscles. So just in the way I have my biceps and I have my triceps, and they work against each other. Just I can do this, and I can do this, and I can do this. And of course, those muscles are swapped over in their force system, but I didn't really notice it. And they have if I put my finger into a fire, I'll pull my hand out, and that signal doesn't even go to my brain. It's modulated on a local level in the distal horn of your spine. And so you have an automatic reflex controlling, with these muscles in a harmonious synchrony that is automatic. Now, I think the same thing should be happening inside the mouth. So the tongue should be on the roof of the mouth and is acting against the jaw closing muscles. The jaw closing muscles.
Against?
So the tongue is in balance with the jaw closing, the biting muscles.
In balance, okay.
Biting. So that if you have your teeth in contact and you have your tongue stuck to the roof of your mouth, so we would call a suction hold. If you look at all the old textbooks, they would talk about the negative pressure on top of the tongue.
Yes, because of the donor space that we have inside the mouth. When we put the tongue there, we generate even a vacuum. When the patient breathes by nose, generate a vacuum because the tongue is there, and all the virtual space that we have inside the mouth will help to keep the mouth closed.
Closed, yeah. I mean, this is a secret. You don't hold your mouth together with muscle tension. You hold it together there with suction. That's how it's done. That's the secret. So anyway, if you have your tongue on the roof of the mouth, then the teeth should come in almost together. But like Simon Wong's definition, he calls it a butterfly bite. So it's like the teeth touch like a butterfly, ever so lightly touching. And I've tried it myself. You know, those evenings, you go to bed and you've got something on your mind and suddenly you find yourself clenching. Put your tongue on the roof of the mouth, clenching goes instantly. Just disappears. And when we talk about bruxing, and I go, well, bruxers, get your tongue up. That's normally the problem.
This is one of the exercises that we ask for patients that have some articular complaint due to bruxism. We ask to do this, to put the tongue
on the roof of the mouth.
Yes. Yeah. So it's because perfectly clear.
So I'm saying that, I mean, literally the tongue is the antagonist to the jaw closing muscles. And there can be no other muscle that does that. And for most people, the tongue's lying low. Usually it's slightly between the teeth, creating the freeway space that we think is normal. It's not acting as an antagonist. So people are going to clench, and when they clench, they carry on clenching and it doesn't stop. And they end up with sore jaw joints and hurting teeth and ground teeth and smashing crowns and bridges and things like this. So, we've got a really good structure that should work well. And we have problems with the posture and function of the structure. And of course, the form of the structure. So for many people, if they try to chin tuck to stand up straight, they don't have tongue space. So they couldn't stand up straight if they wanted to. They'd have the angel on one side saying, you know what? Mike makes a very compelling argument, and I want to try this. And standing up straight is important. So they've got the angel on one side that makes them stand up straight. Then they've got the devil on the other side that says, breathe. And as much as they have the angel, or they try and remember the angel, the devil's going to win. They want to breathe. They want to have a comfortable airway. And so they don't rest with their tongue on the roof of the mouth. Right, like this. Just there. And, sometimes you need to help people to gain a little bit more structural change. Anyway, I must go on because we're recording at the moment a video series on mewing. So we're going to make an app for mewing. We're going to make it at the cheapest price point possible. And I want to give as good value for money as possible because, we've got to change the world, Patricia. We've got to get this information out to people. And this takes money. Yeah. And so if I can get the mewing app, then we can improve the mewing app. We can give really good graphics. And we can also have, spread this message that there is things you can do. And of course, the main thing I want to spread is prevention.
Yes. Changing paradigms are very difficult. And we have to keep on working and showing people how the things must be different, how they have to think out of the box. We use this expression here. We have to think out of the box. Everybody are inside a small box and they don't think out of the box. So it's difficult to put them out, but we need to do it. And it's extremely important, something that you said, we have to look behind. We have to look the original way of the physiology, because the physiology was completely changed by some industrialization and not a lot of other things that are good, but can generate some bad behaviors and not promote the correct stimulus that we need to be healthy, like you said. So what we aim is to recover the good health for our patient.
Yes, massively. But better still is to prevent people getting into bad health in the first place.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
I think that it's not easy. I mean, you know, I've got two girls, 7 and 5 now, and you know, it's difficult, really difficult. And you know, we need a society change. I mean, I need them. You know, I think more than orthodontists, I think we need to get schools on board, telling kids
Yeah.
to sit up straight, shut their mouth. You know, providing better and tougher food.
Yeah.
You know, elbows off the table, sit up straight, eat with your mouth shut. Most of what I'm saying can be boiled down to stand up straight and shut your mouth. That's not a new idea. You know, when I went to school, if I was walking along with my hands in my pockets and, you know, slogging along, I'd get around the back of my head. And some teacher would go, stand up, boy, hands behind your pockets. If I had my mouth open, he'd say, shut your mouth. And, you know, whenever you walked anywhere in the area that teachers or prefects may be in, you would stand up straight and shut your mouth with your hands behind your back. That's how you walked in those areas. What would happen to a teacher if they did that today?
You go to the court.
Yeah. And so we're we're going to send all the teachers who want to make our children better to court, and we let them all die young.
Yeah.
Because this is my worry, Patricia. I worry that bad orthodontics is encouraging sleep apnea, amongst other things, but mainly sleep apnea, which is going to reduce life expectancy and intelligence.
Yes.
And that's my worry. You know, I mean, no one's saying, no one's putting them together and saying, look, this is the risk. If you do bad orthodontics, you mess up someone's face. But also, there are consequences because you're gaining a downswing in form. And as you get a downswing in form, you're carrying the tongue into the airway.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not good for you.
And this is extremely important, what you said about intelligence. People doesn't connect the things. They separate the body in parts. So study very deeply this part, study very deep the foot, the hand, and don't connect everything. It's unbelievable. So we can have a specialist on two, not hand, two. It's unbelievable how we divided the human being in parts and study very deep, every single part, but we don't see the whole human being. It's a very complicated.
No, there's this lack of joined up thinking.
Yeah.
You know, Patricia, I could safely say that I've never had an in-depth conversation with any traditional orthodontist ever. You know, no one's taken me on. You know, as soon as I start talking, they will leave.
Yeah, I know.
You know, they just
exit with me. It's
exit
exactly the same.
Yeah,
exactly.
There's, you know, the one of the classic things I have is someone who comes up to me at a conference and just jumps into some ferocious argument with me. And yeah, I've got very good at this, and I just cushion stop them, and I go, "Very sorry, you should think that. I mean, sorry, maybe we're confused on how we view things." And then I pose a question, and I start a debate, and you know, very genuine, nice tone of conversation. But I take 3 steps. I make them think 3 things, like, why are teeth crooked? What are we doing with this? You know, it's one of these points. And I then go the next question. By the time I get to the 3rd question in a series, the individual starts working out I'm asking complex things. They don't like what they're thinking in their own head. And they say, "You're impossible to talk to." And walk off. And I think, okay, what happened there? Someone's walked up attempting to destroy me aggressively, angrily. And then I've twisted it round, started making them think in their brain. They didn't like what they were thinking, and they headed off, then accusing me of being impossible to talk to. I mean, I don't know. This is the only way, I go to these conferences and I hear what people are saying, and I'm just going, God, I'd wish to come up on the stage and talk to you about these things. Just give me any chance. I thought science was about this inclusive, what's that phrase? Consider the unthinkable. That's important in science. Consider the unthinkable. Except it seems in this whole world of real medical science is where no, we don't want to consider anything but what we think is true.
And it's easy for them because we don't see what we don't know. So it's better not know many things because we will not have to see it. So it's a big problem that we have to face. Yeah. But we keep making our work, and I think that as time goes by, we will achieve results.
I'm not happy to just think about my work and carry on. I'm going to change things. I'm fed up with this, this situation. And I see everyone, I worry that so many of us here, of the non-mainstream orthodontists, are scared to do anything. And I'm not wrong, because they're kidding. They've taken my father's license to practice for basically doing the right thing.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And I've got a court case in November. And there's a good chance I'll win. If I win, well, then orthodontics loses. And what we've done, we've chosen, I didn't choose this route, Patricia. I've been asking for debate for 12 years. Debate on simple things like, why are teeth crooked?
I know.
Now, I didn't get that debate, but I wouldn't be going to court if that debate had happened. Because that's a crucial thing. And the court case I've got is almost purely philosophical. It's not about what went wrong. There's no suggestion that anyone's been harmed, anything's gone wrong, anything's terrible. No. This is a philosophical debate on what you should or shouldn't do for people.
But let's see. We have...
we will see. We will see. So come November, if it happens in November, these things often get delayed. We will see. But I'm trying to. So this is the whole presence of me putting stuff out on the internet. This is where mewing has got me. Is my attempt to get the information out there, and I've done well. I get stopped. So I took my children to Legoland. In when their birthdays, it was May the 23rd, we went to Legoland. And I had my mask off because I was standing back from one of the merry-go-round. And I went to put my mask on and come towards it, and someone goes, Dr. Mew, I watched your videos. And this is just some guy, he's working at Legoland, getting the kids off and on these machines, and it happens to me actually quite regularly now. And, that makes me the most famous dentist in the world, does it?
Yeah, you are.
I mean, I wonder how many dentists actually stopped regularly on the high street or in shops.
Yeah.
Fairly regularly. So, we'll see. We'll see. But I want to get change. And I've stacked it all. And, my father's not getting younger. And it's my honor to my father to gain him some of the recognition. Because,
and he deserved that you honor him.
He deserves that. In 1998, he went on national television to say that orthodontics could, at times, damage faces. And yet, we all know it does. Everyone knows in orthodontics it does. But they said it never happens. And they destroyed his reputation in Britain. Destroyed it. But, that's what happens, isn't it?
Yeah. But justice will come, I'm sure.
Truth comes out. Truth always comes out. And the problem is that it becomes such a big issue now that when the truth finally does come out, it is going to be a scandal. You know, the fact that we have all been suppressed for so long, the fact that a lot of people have lost their livelihoods for saying the truth. Anyway, guys, we're going off track here, Patricia. We're on mewing.
Okay. So, just to finish, I want you to let me know as soon as you finish to prepare the course, okay?
Yeah.
The mewing course, okay? Because we want to present the course for everybody here and start to work on this paradigm changing that is extremely important and is exactly compatible with what we think. Okay, so I want so much to introduce this point of view to my students, because I think it's completely in accord to what I teach to them. Okay,
well, so Patricia, as you know, that I have one of your top students working for me. I'm drawing from your ideas through her.
Yeah,
she will be putting together most of the teaching material because that's her job. And I want to run in our clinic the scientific process. You know, my benchmark is facial form.
Yes.
So whereas in orthodontics, you're trying to improve dental alignment. You know, wonderful. You know, if you want to improve dental alignment, you can do it. I want to improve faces. That is my benchmark. So we're getting in a 3-dimensional facial scanner, and we're going to follow the scientific process to the letter in our effort to gain improvement. Because I have some ideas. Are my ideas the right thing? Am I getting the best outcomes at the moment in the world? I don't know. I hope I am. But what I want to do is put the scientific process and start turning the handle, because that's what we're supposed to do in science. You know, you need to be able to swallow your words. You need to prove where you're wrong as well as where you're right, because you need to have this clean sheet of, you know, your ego is the destroyer of science. As soon as you think you know, as soon as you have passion about your ideas, well, that's very important, because I wouldn't be here today if I didn't have passion about what I believed in. But on the other hand, I've got to make certain that that passion doesn't make me blind.
Yes. Open eyes, always.
Always eyes. And, you know, and having Yasmin there is great, because I call it fresh eyes. She looks with fresh eyes upon a lot of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it's important to have fresh and critical eyes, and to take criticism. That's the point. You know, I don't want to be as bad as I accuse the conventional orthodontists of being.
Neither me. So do I. Dear, we have to finish our talking, because we have a certain time to make this. It was very nice to talk to you.
Always a pleasure.
I miss you. I miss you so much. So I wish that we can meet each other as soon as possible, and sit and drink wine and talk more. Drinking wine, okay?
Your hair is looking wonderful, by the way.
Okay. Give my kiss to everybody, to John, to Yasemin, your family. Love you. Bye-bye.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I've got to go and put the kids to bed now.
Okay. Bye.
Patricia, pleasure. And we'll catch up, well, hopefully as soon as we can.
Yes, as soon as. Bye-bye.